again, friends. Welcome back to the www.platavenger.com, where we just don't want to hear the news. We want to understand that news. And the news that's been sweeping across Europe for months and months and months now is the economic calamity of the Eurozone, particularly sparked by defaults of debt by Greece, and maybe many other countries across Southern Europe are going to default and crash into bankruptcy. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Oh, I know what they'll do. They'll get Germany to save them. Thank goodness for Germany, the powerhouse economy of Europe, which is the bedrock of its entire existence, quite frankly, at this point, and going to be the savior of all of these other collapsing economies. Thus, what I wanted to talk about today on this podcast is, why is that? Why are the Germans the only ones moving forward economically and being so rich that they're going to have to bail out all their other European buddies? Let's entitle this podcast, The German Economic Juggernaut. And maybe we'll do a shout out to a Jägermeister while we're doing this podcast. All right, first off, and again, this is all geography, so we're just trying to figure out, why is it that in this particular state within Europe, they're doing so well and so awesome? And by the way, let me give you a little heads up into the future. They will continue to do awesome for the rest of our lives. Germany is the number 4 economy on planet Earth. And here's how the world's changing. It's the 4th biggest economy on planet Earth by GDP, right? In the top 10 biggest economies on planet Earth, the US is number 1, China number 2, Japan number 3, Germany number 4. The rest of the top 10 is pretty much filled up with other European countries like France, the UK, Italy, Spain may be in there. But here's the deal, friends. Here's the real deal. In another 5 to 10 years, Germany will be the only European country still in that top 10. And thus, that begs the questions, what are they doing so well and so awesome that they will continue to be not just the economic core of Europe, but an economic powerhouse of planet Earth? Ha 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 ha! All right, here we go. I'm going to get to a whole flurry of reasons why the German economy is so awesome. We'll start with kind of a physical rundown. First off, it's a really big state. It's one of the bigger states of Europe. I don't know if it's the biggest. Maybe that's France. Maybe that's Ukraine, if you want to count Ukraine as part of Europe. But it's certainly one of the bigger states. And in terms of population in the European Union, it is the biggest populated state with about 81.8 million citizens. So just alone, the workforce is tremendous. And of course, they have this German work ethic that just drives them. It drives them too far, perhaps, sometimes, if you think about World War I and World War II, driving to world conquest, all right? But, the foundations for the military might of Germany of the 20th century was built on the workers. This is a working group of people with a severe work ethic and organization, high levels of technology, and a very big population that can pull it all together. Again, they're currently the 4th biggest economy on planet Earth. They have some of the highest standards of living, some of the highest standards of personal wealth, highest levels of technology. They are one of the biggest exporters on planet Earth. Exporters. Typically, we don't think of ultra-rich countries as exporters. They're mostly importers. Germany is one of the biggest exporters. Usually, it's like the number 1 or number 2, number 3 biggest exporter on planet Earth, particularly of certain types of things. But they're also a big importer. Again, they're a rich society, so they consume a lot of stuff too. Now, I'm talking how awesome these people are, and they are. Jawohl, my Deutsch friends. But it's what these people do that's so special that makes Germany the robust, just great economy of today and into the future. Okay, well, what is it these people do? Well, if you've ever done the economic rundown here on the Plaid Avengers site and you know what people do for a living in terms of primary work or secondary manufacturing sector or service sector, the tertiary and the quaternary sector, the Germans are very awesome in that they do, like most developed countries, like most developed economies, focus heavily on service sector stuff. Finances and banks and services between peoples. About 70% of their population is service sector. It's like 100% in America. All right, but, and here's the big German but, besides Angela Merkel's, here's the big German but. They also still dedicate like 30% of their workforce to manufacturing and industrial sector. And that sets them quite apart from all other rich countries on planet Earth. And I mean rich in terms of fully developed, like the other European countries, like the United States and Canada and Japan. They have a significant manufacturing workforce, manufacturing industrial, very little agriculture, very little extraction of anything else, because actually they don't have a whole lot of natural resources. So they focus on producing a lot of awesomely manufactured industrial goods. Like what? Well, again, I said they're a leading exporter on planet Earth, exporter of engineering stuff mostly, and machinery, automobiles. Can you think of Germany without thinking of Mercedes and Audi and Volkswagen? They produce a lot of chemical goods. They're a big steel manufacturer. Again, that's something we think of like other countries kind of doing. Germany's a huge steel manufacturer. Why? Because they make lots of stuff out of steel. They're one of the biggest exporters of like wind turbines and solar power technologies. They're the leader of these technologies on planet Earth and the leading manufacturer of the parts that go into those things. And this is something that's kind of a sideline you never heard of, but actually it's German companies like Siemens and some other companies that you probably wouldn't recognize by name. Their parts go into pretty much every type of major piece of equipment on planet Earth. Specifically anything in the mining industries, in the automotive industries, and even in the aircraft industries. There are German parts in everything. It's like a Bosch, like spark plugs. I heard this in an interview recently. It really resonated. When people say, hey, what brand names do you know from Germany? What German stuff do you know? People are like, well, it's cars, Volkswagen, yeah, Volkswagen. And Aldi and all these others, but people are hard pressed to think about other companies and products that you know by name from Germany, and there's good reason for that. The reason is, and here's the cool thing I heard, German companies are really awesome at making parts that go into other parts. Does that make sense? So all the little gears and pieces and manufactured industrialized components that go into bigger machines, the Germans specialize in that stuff. So you don't know them by name, but there's pretty much German parts in every single thing you ever buy. And that is what's helping making them rich. And still, again, a major exporter of all things industrial and high-end industrial stuff too, not just cheapo trinkets. Now that's part of it. Yes, that's awesome. But how does that happen? How does that happen? Here's the other thing that's awesome about the German economy. A great percentage of their entire economy is actually based on small and medium-sized businesses. Most of them family-owned businesses. Family-owned businesses that have been family-owned for generations. What's so great about that? Dude, small and medium-sized businesses is the kind of spine of their economy. That suggests local and employing small groups of people all over the country and specializing in these industrial products that require skilled labor, labor that pays slightly more than unskilled labor. You see where I'm getting at here? One of the reasons Germany's awesome and their standards of living are as high as us, but they're kind of richer and more fulfilled and have more promise for the future is the small and medium-sized businesses are propping up the country. Whereas you look at other countries like the United States, or you can go other places on planet Earth, and see big corporations which run everything to the detriment of local communities, small towns, even medium-sized towns. Think about the Rust Belt of North America, the Rust Belt of the United States. All of those companies up there in the Northeast that used to produce cars and steel, smaller companies, some of them big, but some of them small and medium-sized family companies that just got leveled in the last 100 years. They still have that tradition in Germany, feeding money not just to a handful of huge corporations, but to small and medium businesses, which then filter that money to the community. I think that's something worth thinking about here in America. How do you get that, though? How do the Germans have that and the United States has a Rust Belt instead of an industrial belt? For other cultural reasons, which I find fascinating and I want you to be smart about. Namely, the German educational system has to be considered as part of their success story. Again, you can look at this negatively, but I'm going to look at it positively, and that is that they have a high emphasis on trade schools and real skills. That simply does not exist in other parts of Europe, and it is dead, long since dead in the United States. Of what am I referring to? In the German educational system, you're kind of weeded out pretty early, and here's where it gets maybe slightly negative. In terms of everybody goes to school, everybody goes through K through 12. Kindergarten is a German term, and I know that and 5 other German words. Everybody goes K through 12, okay? You go to a junior high and high school. But about halfway through that process in Germany, they kind of weed you out. And if you're a smart kid, I don't mean to make fun of dumb kids. It's not even smart or dumb. It's if you show promise for academic potential versus technical potential. If you have academic potential, they weed you out and put you in good schools, in better schools, for the completion of your junior high and high school years. And basically, it's college preparatory. If you go to certain schools in Germany, you're going to college. You're going to college to get degrees in marketing and economics and physics and everything else, okay? If you, at a certain halfway point of your education, don't show that potential, you go into regular school. It's a slightly not so great school. You'll go through high school and learn reading, writing, and arithmetic and all that stuff, but you're pretty much slated for a technical school after that, a trade school. And everybody at age 18 or 19 in Germany is either going to college or going to an apprenticeship that is actually going to a small, medium, or large-scale business for on-the-job training in tangible, real, working man's skills. Into sheet metal working or automotive repair or any number of other thousands and thousands of occupations that, quite frankly, here in the United States and other parts of the world, we look down upon those things. The Germans do not, and it's an inherent part of their entire culture. Again, you can say, hey, this is bad. It categorizes kids and it makes, puts all the dumb kids over in this. You can say what you want to, but it is part of the success story of Germany in today's world, because what that system creates is a highly skilled, at least partially highly skilled, labor pool for companies to employ. That does not exist in most other rich countries. It don't, and it certainly does not in the United States. Again, the U.S. model is everybody has to go to college, and if you don't, you're an idiot and you're looked down upon and you're a loser and you're going to work at McDonald's. If people go to trade school here, we're like, oh, they're the dumb kids. And that is simply not the case in Germany. Having real skills is a awesome skill, and it's going to get you a good paying job that you will work for a company still, in many cases, for perhaps your whole life, and work the way up the ranks and have a decent living that you can earn with your hands. And it's not disrespected. That is awesome. Now let's get to what these small, medium, and even some huge companies do. So they got the base, they got the culture, they get the drive and the work ethic. What is it they do? They focus on quality. Quality over quantity. And that is, again, something I think needs to be stressed we don't think about here a lot. Think about German brands, and I've already named some. Volkswagen, Audi, Mercedes, the ones you know. Siemens is one you don't know. They produce exceptionally high quality goods. Exceptionally high. German brands are wunderbar. They are awesome. They are some of the best on planet Earth. And again, I was talking about how they make parts that go into parts that go into parts. German brands are simply unreplaceable, irreplaceable. Yes, you could go to China and get a cheap knockoff version of a Mercedes. Why would you? It's not going to be the same. And I'm not talking from an image standpoint. The quality is not going to be the same. If you're an industrial engineer or own a mining company and pretty much there are German parts in every single piece of mining equipment on planet Earth, you don't want it to save a few bucks with a cheap Chinese ripoff of a part that's going into your multi-million-dollar machine. You want the best quality that can possibly be bought, even if it costs a few dollars or more. And that's German quality. That's their reputation. That's their branding. They are freaking awesome, and they are irreplaceable. That's why, my friends, German jobs are not being outsourced to China. You can't outsource quality. You can't outsource that tradition. You can't outsource that brand recognition and that knowledge you're getting the best quality on planet Earth. Whew, I'm getting all worked up in my wunderbarness here. In addition to all the awesomeness that I've now mentioned in the German economy, there's a couple other things that I'm just going to throw out there for you to consider. The Germans also have solid personal, but also governmental fiscal policy. That is to be admired in today's world. That is, yes, the Germans buy as much stuff as we do. They like nice cars and nice clothes and nice houses, and they consume those things. But virtually everybody sticks to their budget. In Germany, not everybody is up to their eyeballs in credit card debt. In fact, there's probably few people that are. And that translates to their government structure. The government runs a pretty tight ship. Do they work at deficits? I'm sure they do. Nowhere near the levels of other European countries. Of all the European countries that are in trouble right now and getting ready to collapse fiscally or are having to do severe austerity measures like the UK or France, Germany's not doing any of those things. Why? Because they're doing well. Because they have sound fiscal policy that they stick to. They have a budget, they stick to it. It's pretty simple stuff, but it's making them even more awesome and the economic juggernaut for the future of Europe and, again, the wider region. On top of that, and leading into this, they have a sound banking system. Yes, they regulate their banks. I know, it's terrible that the government would regulate any financial institutions. Oh, please don't hold them back in a free market capitalist economy. Let the banks do anything they want. Yeah, that's exactly why the US banking system crashed back in 2008, is likely to crash again in the future because there's still not enough oversight. Banks in the rest of the rich world aren't having sound policy of their own money. They're lending too much money in terms of credit card debts out to people or housing debts. They're lending money to everybody, and then all of a sudden nobody can pay them back and the bank crashes. That don't happen in Germany. Sound fiscal policy at the personal level, at the government level, and at the banking sector level. That is awesome. And one last one of why Germany's so awesome, the euro. Whoa. Ooh, this feels like good test question material for you teachers and professors out there. How does the euro help Germany? Because the German Deutschmark, jawohl, sorry, I love saying jawohl. The German Deutschmark, before they got rid of it, was an exceptionally sound currency and worth a lot of money. Much like the Swiss franc, much like the British pound. They were awesome, stable currencies that everybody loved, which means people bought them, people invested in them, and meant the value of them goes higher. Well, when Germany adopted the euro, they essentially kind of downgraded. They got rid of their Deutschmark and essentially downgraded to a lesser valued euro. Now, that may have taken a pinch when that conversion happened to people who had $1 million Deutschmark and suddenly they convert to euros and now they only have €250,000 or €750,000. That happened back when they adopted the euro a decade ago. Why is it so awesome for the German economy? Because essentially it makes German goods more affordable. Much like people keep saying, oh, China's keeping their currency deflated to make Chinese goods cheaper. That's true. Germany's been doing it for a decade, and they've been doing it well. In fact, some of the reasons why Germany has to prop up Greece and prop up Italy and prop up Spain and help them pay their debts is because Germany's gotten rich as a subsequent factor of some of those countries going into debt. And what I mean by that is German goods were a lot more affordable in the euro system, and so more stuff has gotten sold. They sell all this equipment and cars and goods and chemicals to these other countries whose monetary policy is not so good, who's gone into debt, getting these better rates on German goods, so they buy more of them, and all of a sudden they're in debt. So the German economy has gotten richer. I won't say at the expense of the Southern European countries, but their things are related. You got to think that the Greeks and the Italians and the Spaniards have bought a lot of German goods, meaning money has flowed to Germany, and now all those countries are going broke because they owe Germany. You're starting to see all the wheels go around here. All of those reasons together is why Germany is such an economic juggernaut of now, but also the future. And let me finish with this. Just compare all those things I just talked about to the United States, a country who's still the #1 economy on planet Earth. For how much longer is questionable. Certainly China is going to overtake them in the next 20 to 50 years. But whose economic situation and its outlook is not so rosy now or in the future as Germany's is. Let's compare and contrast. What is the U.S. doing differently? Well, the U.S. has focus on rampant materialism as their core of their economic base has basically caught up with them. And what I mean by that is the U.S. for my whole life has basically told everybody, buy. Everybody buy more crap. More, buy. That's why we're the biggest economies, because we buy so much crap we don't even need. Just buy it. Take a bite of the apple, throw it away, buy another apple. Take a car for a drive it for a few years, dump it. Get a new one. If it even looks broken, buy another one. Buy. We put all of our eggs into that basket, and now everybody's in debt. And you can't keep an economic situation like that going in perpetuity. And that's what's caught up with the United States. This attitude of rampant materialism plays into other things like the United States' focus on quantity over quality. Period. I can't scream and rage about this enough. The United States, and there are good companies in the United States, I'm not making fun of all of them, but just think about Walmart. Walmart's whole thing is quantity, 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 quantity. Consume, consume, consume. More, more, more. We get it cheaper, cheaper, cheaper. That's great, and Walmart's made a lot of money. But think about the United States corporate entities as a whole. Which one of them makes awesome goods? Awesome. What U.S. company do you buy a product from and you expect it to never break? I'm listening. I'm listening. I don't hear nothing either, and I can't think of one. I'm sure there is some good stuff out there. I just haven't run across it. We are known as quantity producers, not quality. That's an absolute opposite end of the spectrum of German goods. Is it any wonder that people around the world aren't hearkening and in anticipation for American goods? They're not. Not unless it's an American good that was produced and developed here and then outsourced overseas to a high-quality manufacturer. And even those are increasingly rare. You're starting to see how this trickle-down effect affects the entire society and the economy over the long term. On top of this, the United States has almost gone out of its way to help destroy small and medium-sized business. We have this over-reliance and fetish with big corporations as they are going to be the saviors of the entire U.S. economy and our souls. That, you know, again, I'm not picking on Walmart, but Walmart, big, puts all small and medium-sized businesses out of business. Exxon, big oil producer, puts all the other oil producers out of business. And the United States government, for reasons I won't get into here, has facilitated that. Corporations are treated as equal humans in the United States, according to U.S. law, and they get all the rights of citizenry and all the rights of protection, and they have tremendous amounts of money to keep the laws in their favor, and that has been at the expense of small and medium-sized business, the over-corporatization of America, the oversizing of business. And again, that stuff, that situation does not help filter down monies to local businesses, to small family and medium-sized family-owned businesses, to local communities. Exxon's one entity. Walmart's one entity. All the money for Walmart goes to Arkansas, where they're from. See the difference? In that same vein, the United States and other rich countries have focused on the service sector to the exclusion of all else. So we think, oh, well, you know, as economies evolve and get richer, everybody goes into services. Everybody becomes doctors and lawyers and restaurant workers and waiters and waitresses and airline pilots, and that's what we all do. And again, all that's based on consumption. We're all consuming each other's services and each other's stuff. But what is being produced? What is being made? And in America, it's nothing. You import it all, and then you pay China for it all, then you bring it here and you pay each other for services. That can't go on indefinitely either. The Germans not only make a lot of their stuff, but German businesses buy parts and services from other German businesses. Again, the whole podcast here is why Germany's so freaking awesome. All this stuff is related. And talking about the awesome German workforce and the small and medium-sized businesses that are fueled by the skilled labor, that's the last thing I want to rage about here on this podcast is the United States and other Western countries, but the United States focus on higher education to the exclusion of skilled labor. It has now run its course. It has run its course, pun intended, college, get it? Higher ed course. The United States now cranks out like 10 quadrillion people with college degrees who now can't find jobs, to the exclusion of any focus on getting people in trade school, getting skills that they can actually use to perhaps fall back on hard economic times. It's one of the reasons why the United States almost now relies on immigrant labor to fulfill the agricultural jobs, the bricklaying jobs, plumber and electrician and construction jobs. Nobody here knows how to do it anymore. And that is a cultural byproduct of the last 60 years, basically, of U.S. culture that has looked down on and spat on anybody who's blue collar or works with their hands and has a real skill. We have gotten to the point in the U.S. where we're like, oh, okay, you have a college education, you're worthless. And you know what? The studies show this, that, you know, if you have a college education, you make a certain level of money, and if you don't, you make a lesser amount of money. And people use that to say, see, Planet Avenger, you have to get 2 or 5 or 10 college degrees. The statistics show it. The more degrees you have, the more money you have. Yes, but you're forgetting one important oversight. We have destroyed any semblance of trade and skilled labor to get an education to have those skills. There is no place for people to go. So no wonder if you don't have a college education, you're the poorest person in America. Because they don't have a college education, they can't get to the system, and they have no skills. We've not set them up with skills to do anything else. So of course the data's skewed. I'm all fired up. Anyway, I didn't mean to get off on a tangent raging about the United States. I just want you to compare and contrast the two societies, the two economies, to truly understand what's different about them so that you can, as always, not just understand today, but be able to predict the future. And I think you wouldn't be hard-pressed to predict the economic success that Germany will continue to have well off into the future. The U.S. one, a little bit bigger of a question mark. And I'll leave it with that. Party on, and we're out.